the fact that for the first time since Marrakesh, when WTO was formed, an African country, the African continent, is hosting the Ministerial is not only prestigious, but it gives you, like in a bullseye, opportunity to control a process at a critical time for the Doha round. Now that relates to the other reason why this is important for Kenya. It's a big deal that when WTO's strength is appearing to be threatened by the slow pace of making fundamental rules that are expected to help trade contribute to development, Nairobi is coming at a time when transatlantic partnership and trans-Pacific partnership negotiations are creating mega regional negotiating platforms whose agreements de facto become rules in international trade. That Nairobi accords us a chance to return to the multilateral process, to an inclusive platform where even African countries are participating, the rule making that's important for trade. So for any country, this will be a major privilege to host such a conference.
Now there are several agreements that the members have agreed to. There are agreements relating to trade in goods. There's an agreement relating to trade in services, an agreement dealing with intellectual property rights, and also the WTO has a facility of reviewing trade policies of each of its members. Depending on the category, those that are developed are reviewed within a shorter period of 2 years. The others are reviewed between 4 to 6 years. The 6 years are mainly for the LDCs. But the organization administers those, the implementation of those agreements through committees and councils of various, covering various subjects. For instance, the trade in goods, there are several committees dealing with each of the agreement, and there is a council on trade in goods that now deals with everything that is dealing with the trade in goods. The same case with trade in services. There are various committees, but there is a council for trade in services, and so on. The WTO does one major function, and that is negotiations. It is a forum of negotiations. And since it was born in 1995, the first major trade round was launched in Doha in 2001. This is what is referred to as the Doha round, and this is what now brings the WTO to Nairobi. The round is not completed. There's still some negotiations going on in Geneva. Our cabinet secretary was appointed as the chairman of the Ministerial Conference that will take place here in Nairobi from 15th to the 18th of December. And in her efforts, she's trying to see whether some of the issues that were listed for negotiations can be completed here in Nairobi.
We've been working very, very closely with the WTO Secretariat to ensure that these preparations are actually in line with WTO requirements. And what did we find out? We found out that, in fact, of all the ministerials that have been held, Kenya is the head of the curve. That our readiness, our preparedness is much further than any other capital city has been that has hosted the WTO in the past. And we also want to celebrate that because it's obviously not by accident. It took a lot of hard work of colleagues, of friends, and of supporters of our country and of the WTO. The logo, which I'm trying very hard to sell to you, was launched on the 5th of May of this year, simultaneously here in Nairobi and at WTO, at the General Council of the WTO. Here it was launched by His Excellency the President, who also did us the honor of actually choosing this logo so that it would reflect what we wanted the world to see even before they got to Nairobi. That in fact Kenya was Africa and it was right bang in the middle of the continent. So let me just tell you this, that we are on course at hosting this conference. We are prepared as a government and as a ministry. We are ready to host the conference. Now, the question is, are you ready? Are you ready to support us? Are you actually ready to set the trend and to set the standard? Our media is very famous. It's famous for doing the right thing. And I think for all of us in this country, the freedom of the media is extremely important. We support in it, we believe in it, it's a culture that has developed, and I don't think we would have it any other way. Honestly, we wouldn't have it any other way. But from time to time, we'll come to you and ask for your support, especially when it relates to issues national, to issues that will lift our prestige, that will place us where we need to get to and where we must go to, right? At the top of the ladder. That we can't do alone. It doesn't matter how many hours we put in. For as long as we don't have support of all Kenyans, all Kenyan institutions, all the four that you mentioned, the 4 estates, then it won't be possible to do it. Now we need your support, honestly and truly, on this endeavor. Not just for this one, but for all the other meetings and conferences that we're hosting. We have done what we needed to do. We have lobbied, right? We strategized very hard. We went around the world asking to be allowed to do this because we knew that the country was ready to take this responsibility. Now we need to convince the world that our media too is ready to support the continent, host this.